right, Evan, welcome to the podcast, man. Dude, I'm so excited to have you in the studio right now, bro.
I'm happy to be here.
So, how was your drive, bro?
It was good. It was fun. Just listen to some talks. Long time. It was
This
good.
man over here saying that driving to Stockton was fun, eh? Eh? All right, so the first thing I wanted to talk to you about, Evan, because first off, everybody, you're looking at my first friend ever in the world, like, period. Like, this was him and this guy, Cameron, were the first people I ever met. And
Good memories.
dude, when I think back to like Cray Elementary and all of that, like it feels like it wasn't that long ago, but at the same time I'm like, God damn, I'm 20 years old.
Right?
You know?
Right?
But so Evan, for you, when it comes to your religion, because being Mormon and all the connotations that go with it, what was your first experience like when you first found the Mormon religion? Like, how did all that happen?
All right, we got to start from the beginning.
All right, let's
We
do
got to
it.
throw it back.
Let's do it.
So, me and Connor, best buddies, day one. It was great. Loved it. He lived right down my street.
Yes, sir. Yes,
The
sir.
Ridge.
Oh man,
I remember when you we were riding our bikes one time?
oh, when I almost
And you
died.
broke your face on the street? Oh, that was
Dude,
bad.
that was a horrible experience. That was when I got like life flighted.
Yeah,
and all
life
that
flighted out of
stuff.
there on the golf course.
Yeah, I just remember after that when like I came back and like I saw you guys for the first time. You're like, bro, you were right behind us.
And then I was like yelling over the lady. I was like, "You gotta call 911!" And then
Yes.
my brother comes running down the hill with a band-aid. He's like, "Is he good?" I was like, "Homie, it's not time for a band-aid."
A Band-Aid ain't gonna cover it, man.
Yeah, a helicopter came for that. But
Yes, sir.
yeah. Anyways, best friends, since the beginning, and kind of our journey together, growing up. We kind of were some crazy kids, crazy
Dude,
cats,
some deviants.
yeah,
Some deviants.
yep. And that's kind of how our life was going.
That's the path we all were on.
Yeah.
Especially at that time, just because of, honestly, I don't even know why. Just kids being kids and attitudes manifesting into what you do.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure. And then I think for me, when it actually really hit me, when I think the turning point for me,
Mm-hmm.
it would be probably when me and Cameron got robbed at one time.
Well, let's talk about that. I completely forgot about that
That was a
experience.
long time ago. Cameron Jones, shout out.
Shout out Cam
Cameron
J.
Jones. He's my man. But he moved. So he moved down near Willie's, near Heritage High School. And we were at McDonald's. And it
Oh,
was
yeah.
like 11 o'clock at night. And Cameron's like, I got to go home. I was like, well, sucks for you. Like, I got to go home too. And he's like, I'm scared. I don't want to go home by myself. And I was like, fine, I'll walk with you. So we walked all the way down Balfour. And then I remember I was just saying goodbye to him. We're right next to like that country club right there. And I was like, all right, peace out. And then we gonna dab each other up.
Yes,
Just
sir.
go
Yes,
for it.
sir.
And then he just looks behind. He's like, oh, and he books it. And I was like, what? And there's like 5 dudes coming out of a bush, sunglasses, hoodies, and everything. And I thought it was his friends. I thought it was Sterling's friends. So we ran around and I was yelling. I was like making jokes.
Yeah.
And then they were like really trying to get me. And I was like, oh, dang, this is serious. Whenever Cameron booked it, I don't know where he went, but he was gone. And then they pepper sprayed me. And that was pretty whack.
I remember, when they pepper sprayed you, I remember you told me
And then I whacked him with
you
my backpack.
like you turned around and you did like a move and you whacked him with
Yep,
your
whacked
bag
him
to
with
get
my bag.
away.
Yep. And they got all my homework. That's literally all they got. And then Cameron wasn't as fortunate. Homie tripped. And then they pulled a Glock on him, took his stuff.
Mm.
And I remember ran to Nathan's house. And that was crazy. But I think in that moment, I was so scared for my life. Like, I was like, I'm dead. The only thing that ran through my mind was like my mom. I was like, oh, I'm not going to see her again. Or like my family.
Mm.
Like, that was tragic. That was the first time that question ever came to my mind, I think, seriously. And I was like, oh, what's this life all about? And I think that was my first confrontation with like evil. Because in good old Brentwood, that stuff's kind of hidden from us
Yeah.
a lot. The real world kind of things. It's kind of just like, whatever, just go through the routines with everybody else in school and graduate and move on. But that was like the devil stepping in and, with those guys.
So when all of that first went down, that was basically your first experience with just like malice intent,
Mm-hmm.
and just like realizing the other half of what life contains. You know,
Yeah.
there's always the good, but the bad. I mean, when you experience it, especially at a young age like you did, I mean, it's life changing. And as we can see, it changed your life.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
like that really made me take a step back when like, you know what? I'm not trying to go down that path. I want to make sure nobody else feels like this. And the opposite of that, of course, is like get on the good side. Where's this good side at? And then every time I look that stuff up, I keep saying like Jesus Christ. I was like, that's weird. Because I wasn't about that, you know? I was like, nah, I don't want to go down that path. Christians are weirdos or something.
yeah. So at that, because dude, I was right there in the same boat with you. You know, I didn't grow up religious.
Yeah.
I had no kind of religious background, and when I thought about God and the Bible, something about it like kind of irked me.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
where there's
It
just this,
did.
there's a connotation behind it where I just it just something that wasn't directly connected to what my life was at the same time. You know, both I
Mm,
mean, how both of our lives were going at the same time, you know?
yeah. Like I either saw Christians as like hypocrites. Like they're like, oh, I go to church, but they're like just party animals. You know, doesn't show forth a lot of things, a lot of character. So I was like, that's kind of stupid. And then the second was like way judgmental. Like you're Christian, you look down on others or something. Like you're gonna judge me. I was like, I didn't like that. But
Mm.
you know, that kept pressing on me. So I was like, okay, I gotta figure it out somehow. I went to Nathan. I went to with him at his church for a while, and then I started going around with a couple other friends to like their churches and stuff.
What
Uh,
different churches did you go to?
I went to there's this one over in Antioch. That was pretty fun.
Were they all Christian churches?
Mhm.
Oh,
They're
okay.
all just different, non-denominational kind of churches,
Gotcha,
and
gotcha.
just friends would be like, "Come on," I'm like, "All right," and they were cool, but at the same time, I didn't feel. I felt loved there. I loved it, and that's why I kept going. But something didn't go right with me because you know all the different churches do different things. They teach different things, and so a lot of them were contradicting each other. And I was like, this is just kind of whack. I was like, get your stuff, figured out. Like, what's going on?
What was the thing about the different churches that was so contradictory for you? Like
It
what
was like, yeah, straight up the baptism thing.
that?
So like a lot of them be like, you don't have to be baptized, and they have some weird, long, lengthy explanation like you don't have to be baptized,
Huh.
or you got to be baptized now. And I'm like, where's your stance on that? You know, like what? How are we gonna figure this out? And so I continued with those churches, kept going with that, and I was pretty positive that was the right path for me. Like this is gonna lead to somewhere good. And that's when the missionaries knocked on my door, and two Tongan elders. Yeah,
It's,
and they're like, "What's up?"
and then from that point on, was that like was after they missionaries knocked on your door and they gave you, you know, the spiel, which I have no idea what it is. Um, was that what made you be like, okay, like I'm gonna go try the Mormon church out? Like just that moment?
Yeah, because they were totally just like upfront. Because I didn't know what they were there for. I was like, "What are you doing? What are you selling?" And they're,
What are you doing? What are you
yeah, I
selling,
was
eh?
really like, "What are you selling?" And they're
You
like,
see the no soliciting sign, bud?
"Yep." And then they're way confused because they're from one from Tonga, and they're trying to learn English still, so they're kind of like, "Oh, we're just here to teach about Jesus Christ." And so that's already on my radar. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Sure, go for it." And they're like, "Is your parents home?" I was like, no." And they're like, "Well, we can come back, if you got your parents or someone that wants to come or agree with it."
Oh, so you had to pay, you had your parents had to be present?
Because I was like 15 at that time. I think they needed that.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, "Okay, for sure." So I remember I was in the grocery store with my mom. We're walking around the grocery store. We're just chit chatting. The whole thing on my mind is like, I got to bring this up. The missionaries are coming on Wednesday. I was like, I got to bring
Word.
it up. I was like, and I don't know. I just stopped her. I remember we're in the pharmacy in Rayleigh's, and I was like, Mom, we got to go to church. And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah, we got to go to church. So nervous. But I finally said it. And she's like, honey, if you really think that's the choice, I trust you. And I was like, all right. She's like, well, I was like, well, the missionaries are coming Wednesday. She's like, well, we'll be sure to see them. I was like, okay, cool. And so they came, sat in the room, awkward first start, getting to know them, had weird expectations, like what are they here for?
Uh,
But they laid it out pretty simple. Like we're here to teach you the gospel, and then if you want to commit, you can commit. If you don't, you don't, whatever.
huh.
And I was like, yeah.
So what was that whole meeting? What was, because you've already experienced the Christian church at this point. Was there anything that they said definitively that you were like, okay, like this is something that I really want to take serious in just that meeting, not when you went to the church, just that meeting with the missionaries?
Well, we had several meetings. We had like 8, I think. But definitely their constant presence of the Spirit. It
Mm.
was that soft feeling of like peace every time they came. It was whenever I was, doing stupid stuff I wasn't supposed to be doing, and they would come knocking, I would feel that deep sense of regret. I'd be like, ooh. And sometimes they swing by and I didn't want to answer the door, and I wouldn't. And I was like, and once they would leave, I was like, why did I feel like that? I shouldn't. They're just some scrubs. But
There's
then,
just some
yeah,
scrubs.
and I was like, wait a minute. There's something in this. There's something a little bit more real than I thought.
Mm.
And they put me to the test. They're like, don't, pray about it. I was like, I never really prayed before. So they taught me how to pray and all that kind of stuff. And it was just way simple. I was like, well, if you're there, let me know. If you're not, I'm out. And he did. He let me know in a lot of different ways.
Damn.
Like, wow. And so for sure, I was like all bored. I was like, yeah, we're doing this. And we just started from there.
Oops, sorry. Whoops, that was a big burp, boys. So after that, after you had your first meeting with the missionaries, what we were in that was when we were all in high school, right?
Yeah, that was when we were in freshman
I was
year,
freshman
going
year.
to sophomore year.
And then when was from that meeting was your first time going to the church, like, or right after that last meeting that you had with them?
Is
Doing
this
a
a sponsor? What's going
sponsor
on?
shot. Oh Lord. But yeah, so your first time you went to the Mormon church, what was the first thing that you noticed that was different from that in the Christian church?
Way quiet, way chill. They don't got crosses everywhere. They don't actually have a cross there.
Oh, the one
Oh,
in Brentwood by Brentwood L, right?
none of them do. All across the world.
Oh, gotcha.
So I was like wondering about that. I was like, well, all these other Christian churches, they got Jesus hung up, blood and everything. And I'm like, at first, that's too is like a little bit like, ooh. So when it
Yeah.
was gone, I was like, I felt comfortable. I was like, okay, I don't have that in my grill. I can kind
Gotcha.
of relax. And I remember asking about that. And they were like, well, we know he died, of course, but we don't want to focus on that. He still lives today, and he guides this church today. I was like, no way, word? And I think it was that. It was like, we're all here together. We're all dressed up nice. I remember I came walking in like shorts and a t-shirt. I was like, why are these guys all dressed up nice? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I felt uncomfortable, definitely, but they taught me how to become comfortable with it, They taught me it's kind of a weird concept. The concept,
Let's dive in.
let's dive in.
Let's dive into that.
This is the concept of
I was just gonna
heaven,
say here, move this just a little bit more towards you. Yep, perfect, perfect.
the concept of heaven and hell. So, everyone likes to think that, oh no, I did something wrong, blah, 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 and I get to the gates of heaven, I'm going to be begging to get in. And in actual reality, it won't be like that. It will be you get to the gates of heaven and you'll be like, get me out of here. Because you'll be so uncomfortable, you won't want to even be there.
Wait. So why? Because when you say that, it makes me like, I don't know. I guess it contradicts the idea of what I think heaven to be. Like, I'm not a religious guy at all, but the idea is, you die, you go to heaven, and you basically have everything that you could ever want for infinity.
Mm-hmm.
And why? Yeah, why was it so different from that? Like, why would you want to leave?
Mm-hmm. So this is where the whole grace conversation comes into play.
Mm.
Saved by grace, all that kind of stuff. So like all the other churches I went to, saved by grace. Hallelujah. Raise your hands in the air. You can go party on the weekends. You're still saved. Do anything wrong at the end of the day, still saved. I was like, hey, that sounds cool. Like good for you. And that's where all the hypocritical sort of people are in like Christianity.
Mm.
They're devout Christians, but they'll go party, smoke, and drink and go mess up, go lie, go steal, go
I
all
know a
this kind of
couple
stuff.
of them.
Yup. And it's not we came to this world to abandon God and get comfortable with sin. We came to this world to abandon sin and get comfortable with God again. So we left his presence and we're trying to get back. But in this world, we got sin on us. We can do wrong. We can do all these kind of things. And you kind of get comfortable doing those things. You see it in like a 5-year-old when he first like steals a candy, he's shook, you know? He's tears everywhere. It's so different. It's so uncomfortable to him. It's not according to his nature. But you keep that kid on that same path within 20 years, it's not even a thing to him anymore. He can go rob grandma down the street without even flinching about it. He's totally comfortable. And that's the whole thing about this life is that we're trying to get where we want to go. And where is that? Where do you want to go, you know? And so for like me, I want to go to the highest kingdom, which they call the celestial kingdom. I want to be there with Jesus Christ. And in order to be there, I got to be like Jesus Christ. Not to say I'm going to be him on this earth. It's that I am every day trying to become more like him. So when I
Hmm.
get there, I will be comfortable with him.
Gotcha.
You kind of
So
get that?
one of the things that you said that I honestly have no knowledge about that I'm curious. So you said the Seshla
The
Kingdom?
celestial kingdom.
Oh, the Celestial Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What what's the difference between the idea of the Celestial Kingdom and heaven? Like what's the big denomination that like differs the two ideas?
Yeah, that's a big one. So for us, and it's taught in the Bible as well, but people don't emphasize on them. But there's three heavens. There's 3 degrees. There is telestial, terrestrial, and celestial. Those three of them. So for like a lot of the world, they believe that there's heaven and hell. You're either a good person, you go to the greatest place on the everywhere, and that's it. Or there's hell. You did something wrong, done. You didn't believe in Jesus, gone, swept down the chute, and you're gonna burn forever. And that's just way scary, you know? That's not how it is. That's not right. That's not just. And for at least what I believe and what I know to be true is that in those 3 levels, God has a place for everybody. So even the most horrid sinner, even the person who's murdered many of people, who's rejected Jesus Christ, he's going to go to a place that's far better than this earth, anyways. Of course, he'll have to suffer for what he did, but he will eventually be resurrected and go to the place which Heavenly Father wants him to go. And he has a place for everybody, all of us, within all the ranges. So, it's not that you're going to be uncomfortable or you're going to be crying your eyes out when the Lord says, "Okay, you're going to go to this place with these people." You're going to be like, "That's exactly where I want to be. Those are my people. That's
Mm.
who I am. That's who I want to be. That's who I've become. And that's who I'm going to be with."
So, hmm, that's kind of interesting. So instead of whatever life that you live on this planet, if that's one of, let's say, partial sin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where on the, like we said, on the weekends, I party and I drink, but then I go to church. I live, a pretty straightforward life besides at times when I'm wanting to dive a little into what's classified as sin,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Are you saying so like when those people die, they're just going to be grouped with the same exact people? Even that it's like not considered heaven or hell, that area where they go is just going to be the people that they're with instead of like, "Oh, in heaven you get to be with just everybody." Like if you were great in life, you're going to be with everybody who was great, but if you did anything wrong, like you're just going straight to hell with everybody else who didn't do well in the eyes of God, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of like the same idea?
Sort of. It's kind of more like it's all more personalized than that. Of course, he knows. If you are ignorant of your sin, of course, you're not going to be punished for that. So let's say, like, I grew up, I never knew about Christianity. I lived in Cambodia and I never knew about Jesus Christ.
Mm.
And I did some crazy stuff, wrong stuff. But they still have a conscience. No matter what religion you are, you know that there is something in this world that's telling you what's good and evil. It's saying, hey, it's not right to kill people. That's why we don't see maniacs running around, unless those who are completely psychopath, mentally disabled in that
Yeah.
way. But usually you don't have to teach his child what's wrong and right. He knows already when he grows up. He knows not to punch his sister, and he knows not to steal your money, and he knows it's wrong to, lie and do all those kind of things. Like, we already know. So, like, for them, if they're not taught about Jesus Christ, of course they won't be punished for that. And there's a place for those people as well.
Hmm.
And so, for all of us, we'll be judged personally by the Savior. He knows us perfectly.
Huh. I guess it kind of makes. See, when I'm looking at, like, I guess for someone like me, Christianity, I guess it would speak to like the simplicity of it's either this or that. But it
Mm-hmm.
seems like in the Mormon religion, it's not really this or that. It's more or less just person by person case. Like there's not like a definitive place, or there's not a definitive thing that you're trying to achieve. It's like you achieve the thing you want to achieve, but then you mold your life and your morals around Jesus Christ,
Bingo.
right?
Bingo.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
so when did you first get interested in going on a mission?
It was probably when people, when I switched over and people are starting to figure out, like, oh, he's Mormon, And I'd have those conversations, they'd be like, why? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
And I have those conversations, and a lot of the things I did not know. I was pretty ignorant, a lot of my own beliefs, or at least in the scriptures, I didn't know too much. So those conversations would be rough sometimes. I'd have to be like, I don't really know. And they'd be like, oh, he doesn't know, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, let me get there. Like, hold up, I'm just starting, chill.
Yeah.
But it was joy in that because people had questions and they were curious, like genuinely curious. And that has brought me the most joy in my entire life, like by
Really?
far, 100%. So I was like, those homies sacrificed 2 years of their life so I, some scrub, could find joy. Without a doubt, I am gonna
Wow.
sacrifice everything I got for somebody out there. So I gotta pay back the Lord in a little way, any kind of way I can.
So then that's where the mission came in.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the idea of like, okay, like I'm gonna go do this because of basically just how happy that made you, and the
Mm-hmm.
idea of would you say the idea of teaching people about it is what made you happy, or the idea that people are unknowledgeable about a thing you're passionate about made you happy?
Um, it's like everybody on this earth knows it already. It's just we've forgotten. But the idea of bringing that to somebody's remembrance in this life and able to like wake them up, that they could have that joy like I do, that I'm
Mm-hmm.
experiencing, would be the biggest blessing. And I've only seen that in me and my mother, at least firsthand. And seeing that and what's like changed with our lives, without a doubt, the greatest thing ever. So I was like, I want to do that. I want to help
Dude,
in that
that's
way.
dude. And Evan, this is when I came over. Was that a couple days ago to come hang out with you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, dude, even just that right there, bro. Like, for me as an individual and who I am as a person, I've been to churches. I've been to Christian church, and I've been to the Mormon church because you brought me. I remember that one time when I went with you. And have you had to have any like really tough conversations with people who were Mormons and decided not to be anymore, and they kind of would look down upon you because you're still a part of the thing that they left?
Oh, for sure. They're all over.
Really?
And just as easy as it is, not easy. It's not easy to truly convert. But someone who's jumping on the bandwagon real quick, like the Warriors team, that's
Yeah.
easy. We can do that all day.
Hey, go Nets, bro. We got Katie, James Harden,
Oh
and we got
no,
Kyrie Irving, bro. I'm hopping on the bandwagon right now.
James Wiseman, good,
Wait
good stuff coming from James Wiseman. Wait on him.
on him.
Yeah, but like yeah, people something hard goes in their life, they're instantly calling 911 for help.
Mhm.
And who's the greatest 911 support we got on this universe? It's Jesus Christ and Heavenly Father. So obviously they're going to jump on that real quick, and then something else goes wrong in their life, or it's not going as perfect as they wanted. They get offended at church by an imperfect person. Obviously it's all false, and they jump off. They jump ship. Their faith wasn't strong enough to keep them on. And Jesus teaches that all the time. He says, if you don't build upon me, and you rather build upon like the culture, the friends at church, or anything else, if you're building on the programs, the great charitable foundations they got, the rules, whatever, if you're building on that, you're building on sand, and your foundation will fall when the storm comes.
Mm.
So it's like, if you build on me, you will not fall.
That's deep. That is
Mm-hmm.
deep,
It is
bro.
deep.
So, because when I asked you about, because this Sunday I'm going to go to another one of your church meetings because you're doing the podcast. I have to push it forward, just like how you push it forward for me. What what about, like, I guess it's because you say that if you're not building your foundation for what was it? You're building a foundation for not yourself, not for the church. If you're not building that for Jesus Christ, you're basically building it on sand.
Mm-hmm.
So, would you say that the Mormon Church is open to people like me, where if I was to become a part of the Mormon Church, one, you and me, we're both men of science. We both believe in natural
Yeah,
law.
for sure.
And I see, like, for me, like, I would want to build upon the community, because the community at the Mormon Church is the one thing where I would be like, that is what would draw me in instead of the scriptures. Because I understand the stories and stuff are all relevant for what people like you and me experience in our lives and being young men and growing up in this crazy ass world. It gives some solace to that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, why would building upon that community be sand? I guess I'm just a little confused on like why I wouldn't want to be building that, even if I'm not a huge believer in Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and that's like it's gonna be based on where you are. So like let's just imagine you go to a place, you go to a let's say Stockton.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons of churches over here, Mormon churches, you
Yeah.
could say. And let's just say you end up living in an area of one and you go there and ends up everyone there just sucks for some reason. They just hate each other. Drama all the time. They do not uplift each other at all. And they actually are just having they just have major problems with each other. And you come in, they don't give you a second look. They ignore you, they look down on you, and they even would gossip about you. Let's just say that would happen.
Okay.
Very unlikely. But let's just say this ward was not what you were looking for. Would you want to go back to that if you came? Would you be like, this is it? This is what I came for?
No.
No. So that's
No, I
exactly, it's
wouldn't.
like, it's not that it's, community is sand. It's not that. It's what's going to bring you back. Is it the people there that are going to bring you there? Or is it going to be, I'm going to go no matter what because of my faith in Jesus Christ? That's a little bit
Now I
of a
get it.
higher sort of sense,
It's clicking. It's all
It-
clicking in my brain now, because it's I get, yeah, because with human emotions and how human beings act, if you don't have that common goal or that common thing that you admire or like you aspire to be more like, I can definitely see how that would throw you off the path. And how, like you were saying, if I went to a ward here that wasn't great, that wasn't built off of Jesus Christ, it would probably plummet because human emotion would get into that ward and then basically suffocate it.
yeah.
Right? Is that kind of
Yeah.
along the
Yeah. Kind of
lines?
like they're more selfish. They're on each other. And so no matter what, if it's based on how they feel that day, if they're hungry, they're sick, they're whatever, that's going to determine their happiness and determine their moods. It's not going to be their faith in Jesus Christ. Because if
Hmm.
it's that faith, regardless of what circumstance they're in, they will be like him. They will try to be like him. And you can see that in people. Regardless of what they're going through, they're always going to reach out. They're always going to try to love. They're always going to try to
And
sacrifice.
that's one of the biggest, um, I guess that's one of the things that, because a lot of people from pop culture over time talk a whole lot of shit about the Mormon religion.
For sure.
And I guess when it comes to, I mean, yeah, we're making full circles here. At least I am in my brain, where when it comes to like that community, I guess, yeah, like the Christian church in my head, just based on what we're talking about right now, seems, I guess, more flimsy now. Because if you're not, I mean, if you're not following that thing, you're not following that guideline that was left behind in the Bible, there's a whole lot of holes and a whole lot of things that would start seeping into that. But when you're following Christ, same as everybody else in your ward, there's like there's more of a happiness because it's not about you. It's not about your problems of the day. It's not about it's not, yeah, it's just not about you in that moment, right? Am I
Hmm.
kind of right about that?
Exactly. That's it.
Where it's very
Not about you.
selfless,
Hmm.
you know? Huh. So, what was your reaction the first when you first opened up your letter for your mission, after you've done everything for the church and you got super involved, you learned about the word of Christ. When you heard you were going to Cambodia, what was your reaction to that, bro?
Bro, I didn't even know where that was. I didn't even know where that was. I literally thought it was in Africa. Remember, I couldn't even read the
this
city.
This
I
boy.
couldn't even read the capital. The capital is Phnom Penh. and I could not read that. I said Phnom Penh or something. I was like, what is that? And then someone's like, that ain't Kansas. I was
It
like,
ain't
yeah. I was
Kansas.
like, you right. So we went over the globe. I was looking around for days. I was like, oh, it's that little guy next to Vietnam, Southeast Asia.
Mm. So when you found, so you found out,
Mm-hmm.
and you then after that, what was the time period from finding out to going to training, or what's it called?
The
Because
MTC, the Missionary Training Center.
yes,
It was about 3 months I had to prepare.
and then when you got there, was there anything shocking? Was there anything where you're like, wow, like this is different than school. This is different than anything else I've experienced up until this time, or was it just kind of like, whatever, I'm here to do this thing, you know?
The training center,
Yeah,
that was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I got there and it was like straight up you're in Hogwarts.
really.
Like thousands and thousands of people were there all over the world, not even just from America. I had people I met from Germany. I had people I met from like Africa a lot. I had people from Australia, from Philippines, from
All over the damn
all over
place.
the place, literally. And they were coming to that one little spot in Utah to learn a language and to go
Wild.
and serve somewhere else. That was incredible. I probably heard hello, what's up in 100 different languages while I was there. Because everyone's, enthused. Everybody is,
Yeah.
not everybody, I'd say 80%, maybe. Maybe, let's say more, 90%. At least a lot. Everybody
90% is pretty
there,
optimistic, Evan.
everybody there is juiced. Because
Really?
it's on one central purpose. We weren't there to look cool. We weren't there to have stylish shoes or stylish clothes. Everyone was wearing relatively the same thing. It wasn't about that. It was about Jesus Christ. And when everyone's focus was on that, every single thing you did that day was around the Savior. You just saw it. The spirit there was so strong. It was undeniable. You couldn't disprove it. It's as you're like walking in like literally Hogwarts. It was like a different vibe
Was
every
there
day.
was because you said that the spirit
Mm-hmm.
there, and we've talked about this before, where the touch of God, and when you feel that, can you describe, like, just because I'm trying to like materialize what that would feel like,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess for me, I'm thinking and spitballing in my head, like, is it just a moment of like when we were kids, and let's say you were building a Lego and you were fucking up at it, and then you finally figured it out, and that moment of like, oh my God, I did this thing. Is that kind of the same feeling, or is it just something intangible that you can't really describe?
Yeah, for everybody it's different, but relatively we received the same feeling. It is beyond that. It's beyond the ecstasy of like accomplishing some great goal. It's beyond any drug, any high, any sort of sensation you can get, even lustful with like messing around with a woman or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's beyond that. It's beyond drugs. It's beyond any worldly feeling that you can get here. I've tried a lot and nothing compares to it. And it is a happiness and a sort of peace that is only felt that way. It's it's just love. It's pure love. That's all I could say. It's like the feeling of your mom holding your hand when you're a baby. It's the feeling of seeing your sister make you lunch or something, or you know, seeing something really tender, something really, really noble. You know,
Hmm.
it's that kind of feeling. It's so incredible, and to have that with you all the time, I would kill for that.
When you were at the missionary training academy
The
or
center.
center, so
Yeah.
the MTC,
Mm-hmm.
when you were there, one thing that you sent back in your letters that honestly I could not even fathom what it was. I mean, you're looking at a guy who fucking failed Spanish his first year and barely got through the next year of Spanish. Just what was it like when you got oh my God, the mouth of the tongue of gods, or tongue
Oh,
of
the gift of
the
tongues.
gift of tongues?
Uh huh.
Yes. Okay, so how, like, when did that click? Because when you were first learning, what's the name of
Come on.
when you were learning Kamai,
Mm-hmm.
like, you said you were struggling like a lot, and
Mhm.
I can only imagine how much you were struggling.
Yep.
But that moment where it just clicked, would you say, like, I know you're saying it's because of God, but would you say that there was something inherent inside you that just made you want to do it? Besides God, besides him gifting you this ability, like, was there anything inside you that was telling you like I can fucking do this? Or like were you feeling discouraged and then it just kind of just happened overnight?
It was all mixed, you know? It was, of course, number one, serve God, all my heart, mind, might, and strength. And that was it. I was like, I'm here to do that. And if I, to do that, I have to go serve the Cambodian people. Obviously, I'm going to put my heart all into learning the language. So it's kind of like a ladder system. If I love God, I'm going to love the Cambodian people. If I'm going to love the Cambodian people, I got to understand them. If I'm going to understand them, I got to grind at this language as hard as I can. Of course, learning it, so discouraged. I'd cry myself to sleep sometimes. I'm like, I'm never going to get it. This is ridiculous. Like, I failed Mandarin in high school. How am I ever going to get this down?
Yeah.
And like when you don't have that experience and you're super young, your perspective is way short. So for me, it was very hard because I was like, I've never done anything like this in my life. How on earth am I going to ever do this? A lot of doubting myself. But at the same time, the more I doubted, the more I was getting discouraged, the more God was kind of backing me up, saying, come on, kid, you got this. Trust me,
Mm.
you know? And so I saw little things here and there where it was blessings from heaven. I got to memorize words a little bit faster some days, meant more than others. And, like just little blessings. And it just showed me that God was working with me, beside me, and he was helping me learn that language. And I was like, dang.
You felt that that presence, that feeling of like, okay, like I'm not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And would you say that's probably one of the biggest like one of the biggest benefits to having accepting God and Jesus in your life is to know that like you're not alone. Because I feel like right now, especially in America, we have this weird culture that's manifesting where like we're more you don't when you see a kid outside on the street, when our parents were kids, you'd see the neighbors saying, "Hey, what's up, Pat?" or "Hey, what's going on?" And then
Yeah.
like they'd have conversations and maybe somebody would bring out cookies or something. But now it's like if you see a kid outside, you don't say shit. You walk on the other side of the street, you don't fucking do
You
anything.
put in your headphones, you put your head
Yeah,
down.
bro, you don't say shit, you don't open your mouth, you fucking just go the opposite way.
Yep.
And would you say that like the enforcement of helping your neighbor is something that the Mormon church really, really, really condones? Because I feel like that's lost, at least
Mm-hmm.
for regular society.
Yeah, for sure. You go to Utah, that's where all the members are.
Mm,
And you'll see that still alive. The people walking the street, they're waving to each other, talking to each other, and all that stuff. It's
that's
not
wild to
dead.
me.
It's still alive for them because they have that faith.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, here in California, that
Exactly,
that
man.
that ain't really the thing. That ain't the go.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's just directly related to that because everyone has sort of a belief window on their head, and it's going to determine their behavior. So if you don't believe in helping your neighbor, loving God, or respecting individuals as yourself, obviously you're not going to go say hi to the kid across the street. You're going to be looking at your stock portfolio or or what you got going in your own life.
Exactly.
My problem,
Do
you
you
know.
feel like we're ever gonna have a fix for that? Besides, and I'm saying outside of religion right now, we're just take a step back from that. Do you think there's anything that's like gonna redeem that, or we're just kind of like,
Nah.
and dude, that's where I'm
And
at.
that's the thing. If it's not the religion part, it's like if you abandon God, this is what's going to happen. It's just we're going to be selfish like this. And that's just the correlation that's between the two. And as this world continues down this path, it's just going to become more and more like that. And to get a little bit on that weird side for a second, is that we are in the coming stages of the Lord's second coming, of his eventual return to the earth
Right now.
right now.
Okay, you're gonna have to dive way deep into this for me, man. Okay, so like, why now? Like, is it time? Is it the year? Or is it?
So there's a lot of prophecies throughout the scriptures. The Lord has been telling us about this event since the beginning. And the Jews got it mixed up. They did. Because they thought, oh, he's going to come, he's going to reign on the earth, and his glory is going to be forever and ever, and he's going to have a kingdom here. And they thought that was his first coming. So when Jesus came in a manger, healing people and preaching peace, they were like, this is not obviously the Redeemer which we thought was going to come and save us from Rome. He's not a military leader. He's not going to overthrow the Roman government, and he's not going to free the Jews. And so they crucified him. He said, false Jesus, false Messiah. Killed him. And he said, that's not what I came here to do for the first time. That's my second time. If this were my plan, if this was my plan, my people would fight for me. But I'm going to give my life for these people first. And that's what he did. And so they got it mixed up a little bit, but he's still going to come back. When he left, he said, I will come back. And that's a huge, huge hope for all Christians across the globe, is for that eventual coming back, his return.
Do you believe that? Because whenever I hear about the second coming of Jesus, I think about Armageddon and Jesus having this crazy ass battle with the son of Satan. His name is
Lucifer.
Yep, exactly. And so, do you think that's where we're headed?
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit! Okay, I gotta take a fucking sip right now because we're getting into some crazy shit right now, everybody. Jesus criminy. Okay, so after let's go a little bit back into your mission, because one of the most interesting things about you, Evan, is the fact that you even went on a goddamn mission at all. Like, you're the only person I know who's ever done this. And that first day, because I know I already asked you this question, but I'm going to ask this again. The first day when you're done with training camp and you got on the plane and you got to Cambodia, what was that like, that first experience?
Bro,
you know?
we were psyched. We were so psyched.
Everybody.
Of course, some were way scared. We're coming to land. You're looking down. You're like, I'm going to spend 2 years here. You're like, oh my goodness. And you're looking down. You've seen like 10 houses and stuff. And it looks burning hot. And you're like, oh, geez, that's where I'm going to live. Dang, this is going to be rough.
Gonna roughen it, bro.
Yeah, so it's definitely worrisome sometimes. Immediately you get there, everything's in Khmer. All the signs are in Khmer. The people are speaking Khmer. We're just so confused. So it was a shock. It was like, oh, geez, I don't even know what they're saying. And I thought I knew something. And you just get kicked in the face.
Damn, you go through all that training. You get there. They start talking to you. You're like, jeez. Where's my book?
Literally, they'd say something. I'm like looking around. I'm like, what'd he say? Like, what's going on? And yeah, that was so bad.
Oh, I could just imagine you in that, just like someone looking at you like, I'm saying whatever they said, and then you're like, I don't remember.
Just like looking through my book and like, yeah. So like you get a trainer, so someone who's been there for like more than a year, and he's like experienced. He's been there for a while, lived there for a long time.
Who's your trainer?
Bowman.
Hey, shout out Bowman.
Benjamin Bowman. I love you.
Shout out.
I love that man. Yep, 6'4", nerdy man from Farmington, Utah.
God,
big dude.
Damn, God,
cutie.
Damn. So after you had your first day, you started getting a little bit antiquated to what Cambodia is. Who was the first person that you went to go convert? Because you brought up the fact that in Cambodia, Buddhism is the primary religion of choice and Mormonism is looked down upon from everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Who was the first guy that you converted? Was he a Buddhist, or was he, or like that you had a conversation with about God, not convert? Because I think that puts a weird vibe on it,
All right, first guy ever. We go to this village, and it's called Bresa. It's the white forest. There's no trees over there. It's just garbage. It's just like tin sheds everywhere. I don't know why they called it that, but we got there. And Bowman is looking at me, and he's like, all right, it's your time to shine, kid. See what you got.
It's your time to shine, kid.
Yep. So I was like, all juiced up, just straight off the MTC.
Yes, sir.
I just so juiced. I think I got like the spirit coming from my face. I'm like, I'm gonna preach Jesus. And then he's like, all right, go talk to that guy. And in Cambodia, it's respect to like get down to somebody's level, literally. So if they're like squatting, You don't look down and you don't like talk to them when you're above
You
them.
get
You get
on
down.
their level. Okay.
So I got down. I was like, "Oh, what's up?" I was like trying to talk to him. Come on, way horrible. And he's looking at me like he doesn't understand. I'm like, I know this homie understands. It's like I'm
Yeah.
saying the right words. And he's kind of like trying to ignore me. I'm like, wait a minute. It's not that he doesn't know what I'm saying. He just doesn't want to talk to me.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like, oh snap. And then I was like, I love Jesus Christ and he's helped me so much in my life. Would you want to learn more about him? And he looks at me. He's like, nah, get away. And he like just stands up and walks away. And I was like,
So that was your first L.
first talk, first L. And I looked and I was just so devastated. And then Bowman's kind of looking at me with a
Oh
smile.
no.
He's kind of like,
It
kind of like
happens.
it's gonna be your whole mission.
Mm,
Get used to it. And I was like, that's it.
got it. Got it.
Just face and like that entire experience taught me like how to deal with rejection all the way. What's the worst someone can say? Is no. Move on. And then that's what we did.
Do you think if you didn't have Bowman, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't have him, that you would have stayed for as long as you did?
I would have made it. I literally probably wouldn't have survived.
Really?
I wouldn't know where to go. I wouldn't know how to get food. I wouldn't know the money system. I wouldn't know how to speak. I'd be done.
So no matter what, when a new missionary comes in, they're dependent on those people who come in or have a year of time in at least.
Yeah, at least.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Gotcha. So who was the first person you converted, and were they Buddhist? Because I'm like that seems like a wild thing to accomplish.
They for sure they were. So I'll tell you about two. One that he was Buddhist, and I'll tell you about the monk later.
Oh shit!
So
I'm excited about the monk.
so the first one, met him in English class. We teach English class there for free. And so that was like one of our services we gave to the people that they would just come by the hundreds. And then we would just teach every Wednesday and Friday night. And then afterwards, if they wanted to stay and hear like a spiritual message, they could. If they wanted to leave, they go for it. But a lot were way curious. And they would just stick around and be like, all right, what do you guys got to say about this Christian stuff? All right, we got you.
Nice. Hook 'em
And
in.
so I did sort of the thing we're talking about. If your foundation is built upon Christ, you'll always stand. You'll stand forever. If your foundation is built upon anything else other than Jesus Christ, you have a sounding foundation. And I showed that by putting like 14 nails, balancing them on one nail. And it was a weird trick how you had to do it. It's crazy.
Wait,
But
so wait. So it was like you convinced these people that if their foundation for their life is going to be anything, it has to be Jesus Christ, and then you balanced 14 goddamn nails on your finger.
No, on one nail, on like a standing nail.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
For a bit, I thought it's like on your hand. And I'm like, Evan,
No,
dude,
no,
I
no,
got
no.
way too shaky hands for that shit, bro.
No, put it on there. And then it was like, well, if you remove Jesus Christ, your faith, everything else will go to pieces. So yeah, it was one nail holding everything together, and we removed that nail, and all the other ones fell.
Gotcha.
And that was like a how would you say that? An imagery lesson or something?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, to physically show you, like, hey, like if
An
you
object lesson. It was an object lesson.
Gotcha.
And so as soon as those nails hit the ground, the whole room went so dead silent. And it was like the spirit, you could feel it. It was there. And it was like witnessing of the truth we just taught. It was letting everybody know in that room, like, hey, these homies are speaking the truth.
Mm.
And it touched the heart of one guy so hard. Came up to us after class, instantly was like, I want to know more. And so we were like, for sure. So we taught him. Great young man. Awesome. He immediately was just like, I want to go on a mission too. He's like, are you guys going today? You doing your thing? You gonna go try to like preach to people?
So immediately this guy was like, you got me.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I want to be about this. I want this community in my life.
It's that spirit feeling, So he got it, and then he instantly was like, I'll do anything for this. And so he's still preparing for a mission right now. He's still he's still doing that.
Do you keep in contact with this guy?
Yeah, Robert.
Hey, shout out him. I do not want to butcher your name, my friend. I am so sorry.
But yeah, that was cool. And then the monk guy, bumped into him when we were.
He was a Buddhist monk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Buddhist monk. So we bumped into him when we were riding our bikes, and then he was just sitting there, and I was like, "What's up?" And I just talked to him, chatted with him, and he was really interested in what we were like doing. So, of course, told him. And he's like, ah, Jesus. Very interesting. And he's like, well, if you have any pamphlets or anything, I like to read. So I was like, for sure, here's this Book of Mormon. Take that.
Nice.
And totally forgot about him. I'm a horrible person, but I forgot about him. Because we, talk to like hundreds of people a day.
Hey, you're not a horrible person for forgetting one guy when you're riding on your bike to go to your next task, and then he's like, "Hey," and you're like, "Hey, Jesus,
Yep.
see you later."
Yeah. But then something brought us back there, I
Mhm.
was like, oh, yeah, that guy. So I came up, and then he's like, I've been sleeping with this Book of Mormon on my chest for the past, like, week. And I was like, why are you doing that? He's like, this thing's got power. It's like, I'm feeling something from this. Every time I read it, every time I'm thinking about it, I just feel something. I feel like a weird peace from it. And I was like, no way. And he's like, yeah, that's why I have it. That's why I sleep with it every night. I was like, dang, homie.
Dude, that's crazy.
And then he's like, yeah, I want to learn. So he just blew up from there. He just read the Book of Mormon, was just coming to church every week. And then he was like, I want you to baptize me. I was like, for sure. So we did that for him. And it was cool because, we get him dressed in white,
Yeah.
going to baptism. And all of the other Cambodian members, they come and see and stuff. It's a really good, cool, like, ceremony. So I'm like getting him into the water. We're walking out into this water. And he's got this white jumpsuit on. And it's like a short sleeve because it's burning hot in Cambodia. He's got all of his monk tattoos up his arms and stuff. They're way cool. And then he's like, this is it. This is the true God. I was like, for sure.
So how many years was this guy a monk?
Since he was like 16.
And how old was he?
He was about almost 50.
And so, wow, that must have just been a mental fuck for that guy. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, that was. He was tripped.
So after that, after you've started having your first experiences as a missionary, changing people, exposing the Book of Mormon to the people of Cambodia, what experience, like, other than meeting people, teaching the Word of God, that really struck you, just being in a third world country compared to America, like just the environment and everything. I mean, we talked about how the houses were and tin sheds and shit like that, but like the people, even when you weren't talking to them about God, like what were the little things that you noticed compared to here?
Bro, they just love each other. They just really care about each other. Of course, not all of them, but general sense, they generally just care about each other's welfare. Like the neighbor, the neighbor thing we were just saying. Like they do actually care. Not entirely, but they're very poor, so they're willing to be more open with their resources, be more open with each other. And it's not a shame to do anything there. You got women who are dressing up in pajamas and going to like the market and stuff, and
hey, we have that here.
we do. But like, there's no style there. Everyone's wearing garbage clothes, and no one's like looking down on somebody for that.
It's about survival, not status.
It's a different level of living that allows them this humble sort of love for each other and for us as we come there. And we get there, and they're just like so enthralled that somebody cared enough to come see them. And somebody cared enough to learn their language, and they're just so excited. So they were warm welcoming, for sure. Even though America's had like a weird sort of thing in their past, sort of bombed them a little bit,
Yeah.
Killed a lot of Cambodians.
Yeah, the Cambodia massacre, man.
Slightly started genocide.
Yeah.
But they still just like, oh, we love you guys so much. And I was like, sure.
Damn.
My second home, for sure.
So after once you were like, because you came home early.
Mm-hmm.
What was the reason? COVID, right?
Yeah.
Because everything was popping off over there, and they're like, hey,
yeah.
you need to come back. Did they send all the missionaries back?
Mm-hmm. All across the world.
Everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was crazy. Probably one of the biggest evacuations of probably any missionary effort ever since the beginning.
So for you guys, that's like this is gonna be like an event where people. I mean, I would imagine as the Mormon Church, goes on into the future, like that's like a mass exodus of like shipping everybody back. So how did the church play off COVID, or not play off, but how did they describe COVID in relation to God?
That's a good one.
You know?
So that's where we come back to the second coming sort of thing. So it's prophesied all throughout the scriptures. And it was actually a direct prophecy from one of our modern prophets, one after Joseph Smith. And he said this was already going to happen. He said all the missionaries across the earth will come home, and this will be a sign of the second coming.
When did he say this?
He said this in 1850s.
Damn. And so he from there he predicted this.
He knew this was going to happen. So it wasn't a surprise, of course, to us. It was like, okay, we're going. This is the Lord's will. And nothing takes the leaders of the church by surprise because they are directed by revelation. They're directed by Jesus Christ. They know what's going to happen, or at least they're supported by that Spirit, like we said. They're helped. They're never alone. They're never freaking out about anything. They're like, oh, we move forward with what the Lord wants. And at that time, the Lord said, bring them all home. We came home, and it was cool. It's a crazy experience. Love being part of history. The church has my journal now and history books forever.
Oh, wait, your journal? So the journal that you were writing in every single day?
But they don't have that copy. Of course, I typed it out.
Oh,
some parts what they wanted.
Gotcha.
So that's locked in. That's like historic. So they have that, and it's like a really cool thing to get through, but also way traumatic at the same time. So it was hard, but really cool experience.
So when you came back, one of the hardest things that anybody has to deal with, and you have dealt with, and by God, you've dealt with it like a goddamn warrior and a champion, is when somebody loses their mom. And describe, like, what was that like? Because for someone like me, who's not religious, and a lot of people, if I lost my mom, like, I feel like I would just spiral.
Oh yeah.
How did you keep yourself from that? You had the church's support, but there's another level of just fucking this willpower you have that I admire. So yeah, like how did you deal with all of this,
Yeah. So was February 22nd that we actually were just teaching this guy who was awesome. He was dedicated. But in Cambodia, like I said, becoming Christian is not the most popular thing. And literally, you'll lose your life for it. So this older man, we're teaching him, he's going to get baptized. And he's like, well, guys, I can't. If I do, my whole family is going to release, they're going to stop giving me money for my support, and I'm going to die. And so in that situation, you still tell them, hey, the Lord still is calling you. But it's so hard. So you're like, he's still doing it. I'm just the messenger. But he still wants you to take that sacrifice. He will be there to back you up. Make that, jump of faith. But unfortunately, this individual did not. And so that was a big, sad day. I was like, oh, garbage. The first guy who I thought was going to do it. So I was way depressed. And then we went home. We're making food, some lunch that day. And we get a call from our mission president. And I was like, that's weird. Why are we getting a call right now? And so I was like, oh, interesting. And then Elder Bowman picked up the phone, and he's like, oh, Elder Hardy's for you. And then President Lewis is like, well, Elder Hardy, I got to tell you the saddest news I've ever told somebody across the phone, but I got to inform you about the sudden passing of your mom. And I was like, I've never felt my heart do that before. Like, it literally thumped so hard, I couldn't even, stand straight. Like, I just went to my knees, and I was like, and that was devastating because she was my best friend,
Yeah.
So that was way, way tough. But I remember he informed me, he's like, all right, you immediately going to go to an email shop and you're going to go video call your parent or your dad. I was like, okay, sounds good. And we're riding our bike over there. And I remember the only thing I could do was sing a hymn. And it was Lead Kindly Light. It goes lead kindly light, amid the circling gloom, lead thou me on. And so Christianity, following Jesus isn't all about the sunshine. It's also about these kind of times. Is that even though we got high hopes that this world is full of gloom at times, but we just want him to lead us on. So I was like, just lead me. And of course, the whole city's out of power. Don't know why, but whole city went out of power. That's kind of normal.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So,
at that moment?
Yeah. So I was like, shoot, can't even call them. So me and my companion are just sitting there, and I was like, dude, I just feel horrible. That's when all these thoughts are running through my mind. Oh my goodness, is God even real? Oh no, is like, did I join the right church? Is the Mormon church actually what everyone says it is? Is it some false, weird cult thingy?
So you started contemplating everything.
Everything. Because I was like, where's my mom? Where is she right now? If I'm laying my whole life out for this, where is she? What's going on? She was my homie. We walked through this together, and now she's gone.
Mm.
And then out of nowhere, I received that same feeling from the Spirit, and it was just so strong. Oh my goodness. And it was almost like the Lord said, okay, she's with me now. And that's all I needed. I was like, oh, this is it. This is it. This is all. This is everything I've been living my life for. And of course, the power turned back on. We got to call him. And I remember I was like, man, I was thinking about going home. I was like, I just felt bad for my family. And then I remember just feeling the presence of that Spirit again. There's actually a scripture because I was like, I'll sleep on it.
Mm.
And there's a scripture in the book of or in the Bible, and the Lord is kind of talking to everybody, and He's saying, "Follow me." And then He even lays it out a little bit thicker. He's like, "Anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their brother or sister more than me is not worthy of me." And He's like, "Anyone."
It's a test.
It is a test. He's like, "I didn't come to the earth to set peace, even though in a way He did. I came here to set the sword." And so you're kind of like, what? He's like, I came here to set brother against mother, father against son, to do that. Because you got to make a stand. It's either me or it's not me. And so, like for the Cambodian people, you pick Christ or you don't. All or nothing, you know? And that did put father against son, mother against daughter. It really did. I've seen families broken because of their commitment to Jesus Christ, where families completely abandon their kids. And that's his stand. And I read in one of the scriptures, I think it's Matthew 8:23,
Mm.
and one of the disciples of Jesus Christ is like, "Hey, before we go on this like mission, let me first bury my father." And then Jesus Christ says, "Let the dead bury their dead. Follow me." Because in Him, it's all life eternal. And so once I read that, the Spirit again was like, "Homie, she's fine. Trust Him. This is the promise." Right. This is exactly what it's all about. So it drove me even harder to work even harder.
So after that revelation that you had, I remember saying in my head once that for religion and a lot of people who are extremely religious, there's this false, like I always imagined it as a false confidence
Mm-hmm.
of where like what happened to you, something extremely traumatic happened, and the fact that you challenged everything that you knew in that moment but then kept going makes me think that like there's a real benefit to believing in something higher than yourself for the hardest moments of life.
Sure.
And without that, I mean, things would probably be 100% different on how you feel, the way you would tackle life, the where you even are right now,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
100%.
And I guess my next question is when you when you got back and you buried your mom and you kept pushing, was there any doubt after you had that revelation in Cambodia of the Mormon religion? Like, was there anything that you questioned, or was that the definitive moment where you're like, I made the right choice?
Yeah, I think I said that a little earlier, but like it wasn't me teaching people new things. It's just bringing them to their remembrance, you know? Like they already knew it. Like I teach
Mm,
somebody about the gospel, something that should be theologically completely different from what they've known ever since they were a baby, ever since they've been grown up in that culture.
mm,
But for some reason, when I bring it up just a little bit, I've had so many people say that sounds familiar. And across the entire globe, we already know the story of Jesus Christ. It's embedded in us. We know it. People have been writing stories ever since people could write. Their stories are a hero story. It's somebody who's descending from their day to day life, going to a crazy trial, going through it, sacrificing themselves or somehow sacrificing something, and then coming back better. The entire thing is all about Jesus Christ. It's embedded in us. So when I tell them that, they're like, "Oh, I already know this. Like, this is so familiar to me." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not a teacher. I'm just the messenger."
Hmm.
And so for me, when I had that revelatory experience, I was only just remembering a little bit of what heaven was like before this life. It was just a little bit of like, "Oh, snap, I forgot. That's who I am." In this life, we're just forgetting who we truly are. And when people realize that, it's a lot scarier to see our potential because you're just like, whoa, we have so much more potential. So I would forget that sometimes, you
Mm.
know? It wasn't doubting, it was just forgetting it. So at times it would be way hard over something stupid. And then the Lord would do something that would give me a new experience. It wasn't leaning on old ones. Like today to this day, I don't lean on that one. I like it. I go back to it in my journal sometimes. I'm like, man, that was way cool. But every day I'm trying to have one of those. I'm living off of these experiences every day.
Hmm.
And so every day I gain a testimony that this is the truth. And it just keeps doing that for me. Because the day I stop that is the day I start to spiritually die, you could say. That I
Hmm.
start to forget. And
Huh.
it's just the way it is.
That makes a lot of sense, man. I mean, because I just for me, I've lost last big person in my life that I lost was not even a relative. It was a friend, and I guess in life without religion, like there's this concept of like maybe it's just because I'm a man, and we're so encouraged to fucking pile your emotions and shove that shit to the bottom,
Yeah.
and never express it or go after or tackle it. And I guess I'm just in awe at how you did and how you tackled something as major as that, and yeah, it's really crazy to me because after that you went back and you went to the church and then you went to Tacoma. And what was that like going on your second, I mean, I guess you'd say like your second mission,
Yeah, pretty
right?
much. Yeah. That was crazy. That was learning a whole new way to teach coming to America, United States. It was just crazy because of COVID times. We couldn't be going around, talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, and by the leaders of the church, directed by revelation by Jesus Christ, the Lord was basically telling us, this is exactly what I wanted. I need you to learn a new way of doing missionary work. It's not all through, knocking people's doors or like running up to people and giving them pamphlets. Do it through every way possible. And the Lord's blessed us with technology today. And so he was like, use it. I've given you it for a reason. The devil's been really good at using it for the wrong things. And
Hell yeah.
you see the people, posting all sorts of weird stuff.
Hell yeah.
So he's like, flood it with something good. Flood it with his word. Flood it with attracting those people who are lost, like I was. And it's like a scripture, and, there's a verse in the scriptures that goes like, people are looking for the truth, but they know not where to find it. Every day, there's someone out there who's looking for it, but they don't know where to look, how to find it.
Mm.
And so for me, it took two guys to knock on my door for somebody else that I was able to baptize eventually, or see get baptized. Found him through Facebook. He just reached out to us and said, I really like your videos. I like what you guys are doing. I
Man,
said, what's up, dude?
that must feel really good.
That was way cool. And I got to hang out with him in Oakland a couple days ago. He was awesome.
That's sick. So when you got to Tacoma, because they had the Portland riots,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and because how close were you to that?
So yeah, they had a thing called Chaz in Seattle, and that was only
Oh,
like
yep.
30
Yep.
miles up, and that was pretty wild.
Did you go there?
No, I did not go to Chaz, but
Oh,
I was
okay.
kind of in that sort of epicenter. And so there was riots,
Oh.
of course, going on in those areas and stuff, and we were to be held back a little bit. Don't go outside during these times, or don't do that
Mm.
kind of stuff, or don't affiliate with these kind of people. Um, so that was pretty tough, you know. But it's like anything. You get an obstacle, just go around it. Just go find a different way to be successful. So it was like, okay, go get angry. We'll spread more love, and that's what we try to do. So it was all right.
That's just brave as hell, man. that's just the idea of a mission is brave because I remember I met a dude. He was probably like 2 years younger than us. He was part of the Mormon church, and he just was irate. Well, I wouldn't say irate, but he just was not with the program. He did not like because he grew up in it.
Yeah, yeah.
And my question for you is, do you think that for somebody to really go after, or not really necessarily go after, but to find God, to find Jesus, it's better to do it on your own instead of getting roped into it by your family if they're already a part of it?
For sure. For me, I to this day I like I never baptized somebody who like said I wish it would have been sooner. They always say that. I wish I would have done this sooner because it's the greatest thing in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, I wish I would have done it when I was the youngest I could have been. My life would have been so much better. But at the same time, God has a plan for everybody personally. He knows when we're going to switch our be open to him.
Mm-hmm.
Um so it's a little technical of a question, but I think it would be best if a family is raising their kids in the gospel. Obviously, that's the best result. If all the kids grow up, they feel the positive effects, um, and they actually have those spiritual experiences, and they start to grow. A lot of kids, they grow up, they have the pride in their hearts. They're like, Dad, this is whack. I hate doing this. And
Mm-hmm.
then they start to have that hate for parent, go hate for church, hate for God. And they soon start turning their backs, and they're like, I hate this stuff.
But do
So
you think that
it's all personal. Conversion is a personal thing. It's
mm-hmm.
never someone else doing it for you. It's never your family doing it for you. It's always between you and God. And at the end of the day, when we're all dead, that's what it's gonna be. You know?
feel it? And do you think that there's like for just a human being and to build up their character, do you think that the best thing to do, I mean obviously because of the Bible, but
Yeah.
is there do you think there's any real substance to having a life in the beginning of your life that is more, I guess you could say, influenced by the devil,
Mm-hmm.
where you experience things that are outside of what the book's supposed to, but then you go back to it later, like you,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like your faith is 10 times stronger than most of the people that I know who've been in a religion their entire lives and like do, go to church every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that there should be some leeway.
Yeah.
And do you think there should be?
Yeah. Because you got to know it's taught in the scriptures all the time. Like when Adam and Eve first leave the Garden of Eden, and they're starting to experience, actual life. Because in the Garden of Eden, it's perfect. They never had to deal with sin. Neither did they know good because they didn't know the bad. So once they left, they're like, oh, shoot, this sucks. And they actually could feel what pain was. They could feel what sorrow was. And that's what made the other factors of life so much better. They actually could feel the gratification from like actually growing some wheat, making bread, all that kind of stuff. Like, dang, that was worth it.
Mm.
I just stabbed my foot with a rock. That sucked. But I got in some comfy grass. That feels awesome. So same way. Oh, I just messed up way hard. I did some way bad stuff to somebody. I broke someone's heart.
Mm.
On the other end, I just sacrificed a lot for this individual, and
Mm.
they are repaying me with gratitude. That's so awesome. So like, yeah, I guess you could say like knowing on the beginning of my life, like all those kind of like more bad sort of things, because I was depressed, and sometimes I was way depressed,
Mm.
and I was like, this just sucks. I remember Googling all the time. I was like, how to be happy, dot, dot, dot. Like literally doing that. I was like, I don't even know. I'm just dead. Like I wasn't there. Show up at a party, music's going, people are chatting, but I'm not there. I'm just somewhere else in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like stuck.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not the way. I remember hitting that, always doing that. I remember went to like an anonymous group chat with some like psychiatrists and stuff. And I wasn't thinking about at all of like suicide or anything, but I was really thinking like, what's the point? Like
Why? Yeah.
where am I
Why?
going?
Yeah. Why the fuck am I on this planet if what I'm experiencing isn't making me feel whole?
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, how do I be happy? And they were so helpful. They were like, well, according to studies, obviously a belief in God, people are a lot more happy. And I was like, why? And then they were telling me like they have standards to base their lives on. They live up to their expectations. They don't have to have expectations for themselves, and they're just like more genuinely happy with themselves as individuals. I was like, interesting.
And then that
And then
spurted.
that can and that continues to grow. But yeah, definitely knowing all that bad helped me to find the good. Getting robbed at night, that night in Balfour, and then receiving joy baptizing somebody in Cambodia. Those are complete joys to me. I still love those experiences, the bad ones. I cherish those just as much as I cherish the good ones.
Mm.
They're all learning experiences.
I mean, man, it's like I said, dude, from the beginning of this, like from where like you and me were both at when
Mm-hmm.
we were freaking infants, just children, to where we are now, man. Like, I'm just happy I get to call you my friend, bro, because you're so impressive when it comes to overcoming those things. Because for me, I find it very hard. I find it hard to do things like forgive and forget.
Mm.
I find it hard to battle things like my addictions, and I've I look at you and I'm just like, how the fuck does this fucking dude do it, bro? How the fuck did he pull this off? Because it seems intangible to me, and probably to a lot of other people, that mindset of looking from outside of the fishbowl and looking at everything from an objective standpoint with your morals already being ingrained in you is just like I can't. I try to picture it. I try to all the time, but it doesn't click.
The thing is, I'm just as weak as anybody else.
Ah,
I
get the
am.
fuck out of
I
here.
am.
Get it. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's dive into that then. So why do you think you're weak? Because I look at you and I see a man. I see a man. I don't see a boy. I see a man who has moral standards and everything fucking above the green line.
All right, we're gonna become preacher for a sec.
Oh, we're busting out the book, ladies and
We're busting out the
gentlemen.
book.
All right.
I
Okay.
knew I was like, this has got to come in handy
Hey,
somehow.
read me some script, man. Oh, and also, I'm gonna tell a little story. Okay, so when I hit Evan up to do this podcast,
shoot.
this I called bullshit immediately, and I was like, you're jawsing me. You're this is a lie. Evan, don't lie though. So when I sent him a DM just on Instagram, and he didn't have Instagram downloaded, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Not on your phone. No messenger app, no
Nope.
thing, or no like, oh, I figured it out, blah, 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 through the computer.
Yep.
And he said, you know what, Evan? You say it for me because it happened to you, not me.
Yep. Just chilling, minding my own business, sitting there. Actually, I think I was reading scriptures. I don't know what I was doing,
Mm,
but I was just chilling, and then I received such an impression. It was like the same thing we said, like about the Spirit.
mm.
It will guide you. It will help you in everyday life. But I received such an impression. It was like re-download Instagram. I was like, oh, it's kind of stupid. So I got rid of that because I'm sick and tired of seeing.
Guy.
I'm sick and tired of seeing those kind of
Seeing the algorithm either make you mad or show you something where you're like, yeah, fuck that.
yeah, are just people just trying to whatever.
Yeah, people.
That's
being
a whole
people.
conversation itself,
Yeah.
social media. But I was like, I don't want to deal with that garbage right now. And then it was like re-download Instagram. It was so strong, and I was like, what? Why? And it was like message. And I was like, who could be reaching out to me? I've checked my direct messages. No one wants to hit me up. I was like, nah. And then it just kept doing it. It's like re-download. I was like, fine, re-download, quick. I was like, just gonna go in, quick check. That's it. And I've never done that before. And then go in there, boom.
This fucking guy.
What do you know? 50 minutes ago, Connor Reynolds hits you up. I was like, oh, this is what it was for. And then I was like, oh, sweet. And then you came and visited. And all
Yeah,
that
we
kinda
came, we
stuff.
hung out, and hey, now we're here doing this pod. All right, let's go into the scripture, my man. What are you going to read for me today?
Right. This is a good one. So this is Moroni. He's just a prophet. Don't trip about him. It's not important. But anyways, he's just speaking truth right now. And he's just talking about how when we're weak, everyone's given weaknesses. And right now he's talking about his handwriting. He's like, I suck at writing. He's like, my handwriting sucks. When the people of the future get this book, they're going to make fun of me. They're going to disprove that God exists because of my imperfections. He's like, I'm not poetic like this so-and-so guy, or I'm not as good as this guy. And the Lord is telling him, like, shut up, dude. Like, it's not about your weakness. I'm here to make you better if you trust me. And so this is what he's got. I think one of the greatest scriptures of all time, but this is what he says. He said, and this is Christ speaking to everybody. If men come unto me, I will show them their weakness. And I give men weakness that they may be humble. And my grace is sufficient for all men that humble themselves before me. For if they humble themselves before me and have faith in me, then will I make weak things become strong unto them. Fire. Fire.
That okay, so let's bust it down and break that up because like we were talking about, man, I've like my weaknesses are something that I really, I don't relish in them because I've been looking forward, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
But break that down for me, man.
So, like, when we come unto Jesus Christ, he said, I will show you your weakness. Don't worry about it. I'll let you know how imperfect you are. And that is humbling, coming from the most perfect being in the entire universe. The more you get to know perfection, the closer you get to the hot noonday sun, the more you're going to see your imperfections, you know? The
Mm.
closer you get into a bright light, the more imperfections you're going to see, you know, about your face.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
My God, where the fuck did that
yeah.
shit come from?
And there's people who are so ignorant of their own imperfections.
Mhm.
They judge their neighbor. Oh, so and so, so prideful, so and so, so conceited, but they can't even look in the mirror. So when you get to know Jesus Christ, you read about his life, you read about who he was, and you're like, oh my goodness, this guy is amazing. And the more you feel that, and the more you get to know that, the more you're like, I am horrible compared to this guy. I am not everything he is. And that's the standard he's holding everybody. He says, become like me.
Mhm.
I am perfect. Become like me. And it's like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And he says, obviously you can't because you have weakness.
Okay, hang on. Let's pause. I think it's funny that in the store they're like, "Yeah, obviously you can't be as perfect as me, but you can be kind of there."
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I'm the son of God. Obviously you're not gonna be like me.
Mhm.
And that's totally fine. But that's the whole process of this life. He says he purposely gives men weakness that they will be humble. So he gives us that weakness so we can look in the mirror and be like, I'm not the best basketball player ever. I'm not the best mathematician ever. I'm not the best writer. I'm not the best speaker, all that kind of stuff. It makes us humble. And when you realize someone's better at you than something, you get ticked or you try to get prideful. You try to
Mhm.
cheat. You try to do something to compensate for that failure, that loss. And for the Lord, he says, just come to me. I'll show you that weakness. But that weakness isn't to, get you mad. It's to get you humble. It's a humble state. It's a state recognizing there is a supreme being. There is a master of the universe. There is a creator. And to be grateful for him, be like, okay, you're master. I'm servant. What do you want me to do? And then he says, well, and you have that weakness, and I can make it a strength if you rely on me. And that's where the Spirit will come in
Mm.
to help you. For my weakness, definitely I'm not a scholar. I was not. I was not good at Mandarin. Was not good at linguistics at all. And he showed that to me for sure. I was coming to him, trying to be like him, trying to do what he wants me to do. And
Yeah.
he exposed me for sure.
He
I
exposed my ace.
I was in a class full of way smart dudes.
Yeah.
Way smart people. And I was like, just this scrub. I was like, oh my goodness, you called the wrong man to the job. But he was doing that for a reason. He's like, you are not the smartest kid in the world.
Mhm.
And I'm going to show you that.
Hey,
And I
me
was
neither.
Like, yeah,
Me
yeah.
neither.
So I was like, yeah, that ain't me. But he's like, well, you have faith in me? I said, yep. And he said, all right, we'll make that a strength real quick. I got you. And then he did. So he made that a strength. And then he continues to do that with all my weaknesses. So something you see, you're like, oh, I'm impressed by that. That was a horrible weakness. And I'm just trying to follow him and have faith in him. And somehow on the outside, that looks like me, but it's not me. He's just the one doing the things behind the screen, you know?
Evan, you talk so goddamn eloquently, man. I swear to God, this guy's showing me up on my own goddamn podcast. Eh? Hey, but we're actually hitting an hour and 23 minutes.
Oh!
So, you know what?
No, you can cut.
No.
We just can cut and, like, make it shorter because, like, that's just way long.
Hey, I'll cut it up into clips. I'm gonna do that for
like
easier
the
to
interesting,
digest.
yeah,
you know,
the interesting part.
exactly. So wait, I want to talk about one more scripture that I know because of you. This is not of my own knowledge. Let you guys know this man influenced this in my brain. I think about it all the time. And that is the story of I know you can tell me his name. The guy who was walking along the golden rod.
Oh, yep.
What was his name?
His name was Lehi.
Oh, do you know exactly where it's at?
Of course.
Dude, please read that for me, because the reason why, for me, like I said, not a religious person, but the story of Lehi is something that, like, when Evan here talked to me about it, I don't know. It was something that really connected with me, because I always viewed myself as a follower of such. I was never really, I never really, like,
Mhm.
took the lead at all, at least in high school and before that, because of like my own weaknesses. When I was fat as shit and I had no
Oh,
goddamn
oh
confidence.
my goodness, no.
Like all like those moments which accumulated to I mean who I am now, and the
Uh-huh.
reason why I am who I am. But let's read this for me, man. Read. I love this story.
All right. So I'll read it, and then of course we don't have to like have everybody listen to the entire thing, but just for us,
Yeah, no,
I'll read it.
I will probably cut this out
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
because I
yeah,
don't want to get too many people being like, "Hey, cool it on the fucking scripts, huh?"
yeah. Okay. Okay, so Lehi, he's just a god man. The spirit's in his life. He's getting influenced by the spirit. So like I told you, the spirit can come and help you in anything. And the spirit will tell you what the Lord wants you to know. It can manifest itself in messages into your mind, like the impression I got for you, and it can come into literal visions, which are written down all throughout the scriptures, and it can come into words and anything like that. And so he gets a vision, probably one of the most impressive visions throughout all the scriptures. This one's crazy because this is all about us. He wrote this 2,600 years ago, more than that. And it's so evident today. Like it's literally us today. And this is what he said. And it came to pass, I was in a stark and dreary wilderness. And it came to pass that I saw a man, and he was dressed in a white robe. And he came to me and stood before me. And it came to pass, he spake unto me that I should follow him. And it came to pass that I followed him, and I beheld that I was in a dark and dreary waste. And after I traveled for the space of many hours in darkness, I began to pray unto the Lord that he might have mercy on me according to his multitude of tender mercies. And it came to pass that I prayed unto the Lord, and I beheld a large and spacious field. And it came to pass I beheld a tree, whose fruit was desirable to make one happy. And it came to pass I did go forth and partake of this fruit. And I beheld it was the most sweet above all other fruits that I've ever tasted. Yea, I beheld that it was the fruit thereof was exceedingly white, to exceed the whiteness, more whiteness than I've ever seen. As I partook of the fruit, I was filled in my soul with exceedingly great joy, wherefore I began to be desirous that my family should partake of the fruit also, and it was desirous above all other fruits. And he says, blah, 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 came and cast my eyes around, and he saw Nephi, Sam, and Sariah, his wife, and kids. And he said, I bade them with a loud voice that they should come and follow me and partake of the fruit, for it was desirable above all other fruits. And it came to pass that they did come and partake of the fruit. And he says, Laman and Lemuel, they did not. His two other kids didn't, because they just didn't want to. And I beheld a rod of iron, and it extended along the bank of the river that led by the tree which I stood, and it was a straight and narrow path along the rod of iron, even by the tree which I stood, and it led by the fountain a large and spacious field, which almost had been a world. And I saw numberless concourses of people, many of them pressing forward to obtain the path which led to the tree. And it came to pass they did commence towards the path of the tree. But it came to pass there even arose a mist of darkness, yea, an exceedingly great mist of darkness, insomuch that those who have commenced in the past did lose their way, and they were lost. And others were pressing forward, got caught hold of the rod of iron, and they went through the mist of darkness, clinging to the rod, to partake of the fruit. And after they partaken of the fruit, they cast their eyes, and they were ashamed. And then he talks about and says, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and I cast my eyes round about on the other side, and there was a great and spacious building, and it stood as if it were in the air, high above the earth. And it was filled with people, bold, old, and young, male and female. And their manner of dress was exceedingly fine, and they were in the attitude of mocking and pointing their fingers towards those who have taken part of the fruit. And after they had taken part of the fruit and tasted, they were ashamed because of the scoffing which came at them, and they fell away to forbidden paths.
Evan,
That's crazy.
dude, thank you so much for being on the pod. I appreciate it. And we're gonna end this right here because we're at like an hour and 30-ish minutes.
Yes.
Hey, I'm gonna have you on here again. I want to have you on here again and talk about more things and just converse because, dude, like I said, you have a perspective that nobody I know does. And I value that a lot. And I value for even coming all the way out here to Stockton to do this, man, for real.
Bro, it was my pleasure. Are you kidding me? But no, Connor, you're awesome. Like the
Dude.
thing, like for you to do this and stuff, I think it's so cool.
Dude, thank you, man. I've tried, man. I mean, the studio is definitely just in my garage, but it's
Shout
pretty
out
cool.
Connor Reynolds coming up. I'm telling you, this is gonna be
Next
something.
big podcast, for I swear to God, the next biggest podcast in the world, Joe Rogan. I'm coming for your head.
Joe Rogan,
It's
James
good.
Wiseman.
It's good. All right, y'all. We're out. Deuces.